Hello, everybody. This is Moshe Rothschild from the Global Israel Alliance, bringing you the summary of the news for the week ending August 28th, 2020. You might have noticed that I got a haircut. The truth is, it's not that I have a lot of hair, just mostly on the sides. And I had a bit of an argument with the barber this week. I felt I should get 50% off, but he didn't agree with me. Anyhow, straight on to the news here. The U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo met with Prime Minister Netanyahu this week in Jerusalem. Pompeo also met with Defense Minister Benny Gantz, Foreign Minister Gabi Ashkenazi, and after Israel, Pompeo is scheduled to visit Sudan, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and possibly some additional stops here in the Gulf. And he tried to get Israel to cool their relationship with China. He also discussed the Middle East peace and everything going on here. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Unfortunately, the Moroccan Prime Minister, El Adamani, told his party yesterday that he rejected any normalization of relations with Israel. Jared Kushner is expected to visit Morocco in the coming days, and we'll see if he has any success putting pressure on Morocco. IDF aircraft and tanks attacked the Hamas military positions and underground infrastructure in southern Gaza late Sunday this past week in response to the launching of incendiary devices, namely balloons, across the border, which caused some 28 fires. In very fun news this week, NBA All-Star Amare Stoudemire, former Knick, former Phoenix Suns, he completed his conversion, that's right, to Judaism this past week. And Amare posted on Instagram, he said, "It's official. I finalized my final meeting with the Bet Din," that's the rabbinical court, and went to the ritual bath. Graduation complete. In sad news this week, there was a terror attack. It was the first deadly terror attack this year. Please God, there should be no more. Rabbi Shai Ohayan, who was 39 years old, was on the way home from studying, and he was attacked in his hometown of Kfar Saba, and he was murdered by a Palestinian terrorist. He was laid to rest the same day on Wednesday evening. He leaves behind a wife and 4 children. Israel and Sudan, a peace deal will happen according to officials from both Israel and Sudan. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo met with top leaders in Khartoum to push the Israel-Sudan peace deal. So this is really another feather in the cap of the Trump administration. And it seems that there's a real tidal wave of possible peace coming along between many Arab nations and Israel. A Hezbollah terror cell they are the terrorists based in Lebanon, fired on IDF troops this week from Lebanon. In response, the IDF deployed dozens of illumination rounds, which are the rounds that light up the night. And then IDF attack helicopters and aircraft struck Hezbollah terror organization targets. Back to the south, where the Hamas terrorists are, we have Israel's a great country, just we're not in such a good neighborhood. Like we're not bordering with Canada, right? So in the south, Israeli high tech was able to defeat the Hamas low tech. The new laser cannon that Israel deployed showed a 100% success rate against the arson balloons that they've been launching. The so-called light blade system eliminated 150 incendiary balloons in the last 10 days. Amazing. An Israeli and U.S. delegation will travel on the first commercial flight coming up next week between the United Arab Emirates and Israel. The flight will be the first known direct flight by Israel's state airline to a Gulf Arab country, an important sign of progress in implementing the August 13 agreement between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. Really, just, I can't even tell you, I'm still on cloud nine. I can't believe that happened. The U.S. plans a Mideast regional summit. The wheels of peace have begun to turn. In September, the United States, with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, is planning a U.S.-led effort to convene a Middle East peace summit. Senior official from the United Arab Emirates and said that Pompeo's 5-day visit is designed really to drum up support for the summit that is expected to be successful and take place, as I said, in September. Interesting find this week: a 3,000-year-old biblical era fortress was uncovered in Israel. A Canaanite fortress in the middle of the 12th century BCE, which is the time of the book of Judges, was found by the Israel Antiquities Authority and teenage volunteers in the excavation close to Kibbutz Galon near Kiryat Gat. The fortress provides a glimpse into the reality described in the book of Judges, in which the Canaanites, the Israelites, and the Philistines were all fighting each other. So that's the news from Israel. That's the summary of the news. And we have some very exciting announcements coming up in the next few weeks, in the next few months. But I'll give you a little taste. We will be announcing to the public shortly a free trip to Israel for Black pastors, for African-American pastors. It will take place in about maybe in the spring or the summer, Corona willing, and we'll be taking a group of US-based Black pastors to Israel on a complimentary tour. But we'll be announcing that officially and many other details. So we wish you all a wonderful Shabbat Shalom. I hope you like my haircut, and blessings from the Holy Land of Israel.